UPod Street is an official affiliate of Birdland Sports. Visit birdlandsports.com/UPod Street, and 10% of your order will go directly to supporting the pod. Use code UPod Street at checkout, and you'll get 10% taken off your order. Now sit back, relax, and keep that beer cold, because it's on to UPod Street. What is up, Birdland? I am your host, Jimmy Horn, who forgot to say something witty about himself this week, but I didn't have anything to say. And joining me, as always, is our other host here at UPod Street, the brunette Thor himself, Jack Bain. Jack, how you doing this week?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'd be a lot better if my neighbors upstairs hadn't woken me up at 5 o'clock in the morning. They returned from the bars in Fed Hill and were having a full-blown rave at 5 o'clock in the morning.
God, 5 a.m. That's obscene.
And here's the thing: like these guys, they usually they usually party pretty late in the night, right?
Yeah.
Like I'll hear them, like I'll wake up to them coming in. Like we have a shared hallway that enters our building.
Yeah.
And they live above us, so I'll hear them come in, and then occasionally I'll hear a little bit of music, and that's usually at like 3 a.m. or something. Jeez. And I remember what it's like to be young, Jack. I've partied at 3 a.m. before in my life.
Go Rams.
Unexpected. But like, and usually I can sleep through it because it's like, okay, it's a little bit of muffled of music happening and like people partying and like I hear it, but I'm like, oh, okay, I can ignore it and go back to sleep, right? Not this morning, not at 5 a.m. when they had their speakers on full blast. It was a full blown rave in the building, Jack, and this went on until like 6:45 in the morning. Like I could see the sun coming out.
That's nuts.
All their people were leaving their party.
That's nuts.
Dude, how do you have the stamina for that?
It just sounds like they had a better night than you did.
Well, I can't argue with that. Some of us are working adults and
whatever, man,
need to sleep, and we're not happy to be woken up 3 hours before our alarm.
Whatever, man. I can still be an adult. Anyways,
I'm not calling you out. I'm calling my neighbors out.
It was a good week for O's baseball, huh?
Oh my goodness, we got to get into that. But first, before we get into the Orioles, we got to get into the rest of the league. So, Jack, what do you got for your notes from around the league?
Yeah, man, it's kind of a weird week. I think like the one thing that I want to focus on this week is what's going on over in the National League wild card race right now. It's
all right.
Like,
give it to me.
It's been kind of like changing, throughout the last couple weeks. Like right after the All-Star break, it was kind of getting tight. But right now, man, like the last week, I don't know if it just like because I wasn't paying attention as close, but it seems like it's really tightened up. We have 6 teams within the hunt and a couple of teams that you really can't count out yet. You got the Phillies at the top, who had a horrid first inning tonight in Williamsport against the Nats. And you got the Giants in second, followed by the Cubs, dude.
The Cubs from out of nowhere.
The Cubs out of nowhere. I thought that they were cooked. I genuinely thought that they were cooked. Like third in the NL Central for a while. We're just kind of staying stagnant. But they've really started to put it together the last couple weeks. Like, I mean, they propelled themselves into the third wild card spot, which is nothing to balk at. And I mean, they're really not far off of Milwaukee for the top of the division either. I mean, they're 4-ish games out right now of first place in the AL Central. They've just been good teams.
It's interesting. I don't think there's necessary. I mean, there might be a causation here instead of just a correlation, but all this coming off them DFAing Trey Mancini.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't offering a ton to him, man.
No,
Like
he wasn't doing much.
as much as I wanted, you know, as much as I wanted him to succeed in Chicago, it just kind of, yeah, just didn't work out. But they've done a lot like the last couple weeks, especially on the bump. Marcus Stroman went down with an injury, and they really didn't skip a beat. Guys like Justin Steele, who's an all-star this year, has really been holding it down for the Cubs so far. Like he's really evolved being ace of the staff. And then a bullpen that on paper looks pretty awful, but they're getting it done too. And then just like a lineup that isn't deep either. The only move that they made at the deadline was for Heimer Candelario, and he made an immediate impact right as he got there. The Christopher Morel walk-off home run the other night against the White Sox, dude.
That was that was electric.
I
I
mean,
love the view showing above the stadium and everything, like as it's happening. That's pretty electric.
yeah, dude. I mean, Christopher Morel last year, he came up, I think in May or June with him last year, and stunk. Was really, really bad. Started the year in triple this year, and then he got called up probably around mid-June this year, early July, and like went off like 15 home runs within his first month of playing. And then he's doing stuff like that, like day in and day out for the Cubs. I mean, he was one of my favorite prospects coming up, and I'm glad that he's succeeding. But I think a lot of people counted him out there at the start of his career.
I totally thought I muted myself before I cleared my throat there, and I didn't at all. So that's going to sound awful on the,
Tough.
on the podcast.
Tough.
I just realized as soon as I cleared my throat, I was like, wait, it's not showing that I muted my mic. That's awkward.
Tough. Yeah, so just like kind of rounding out the wild card there, the D-backs are a game out. Been playing better ball of late, but they fell a long, long way from where they were at the break. And the Reds and the Marlins are both game out as well. Could get tight down the end, man. Could get tight.
I'm interested what's going to happen with the Reds there, because I hadn't even realized, I hadn't been paying close attention enough to realize that the Cubs had caught them.
Yeah.
But it's so weird because it seems like the Reds will go on this streak where they look incredible, and you just see all these highlights of Ellie De La Cruz doing ridiculous things, and oh, they're bringing up this top prospect now and this top prospect now, and then all of a sudden it'll be like, oh, Cincinnati's coming back down to earth. They've lost like 5 in a row or something like that. Like it just seems like they just go one way or the other every week, and you're not sure which one it's going to be. Because I thought at one point they were on such a roll, I was like, oh yeah, these guys are guaranteed at least to make a wild card.
Yeah, I think kind of part of their struggles have been around De La Cruz. Like his last 30 games have been they haven't been good. 210, 282, 429 clip. Makes for an OPS just above 700, which isn't bad for a first-year rookie, but he had so much hype coming up that it seemed like that the Reds weren't really going to be stopped there. But he's slowed down. A lot of their other guys who seemed to be overperforming at the time also slowed down. Jonathan India went down to injury. They lost some depth in the outfield. Jake Fraley went down. Nick Lodolo's still down. You got a lot of guys that are one injured and became injured recently, or just underperforming, and not a good combination for winning, unfortunately.
I think ultimately, though, where the Reds are this year is where the Orioles were last year. Bringing up Rutschman and Gunnar, and the Orioles were bringing up a bunch of guys last year too, and they brought up a bunch this year too. But the Reds are kind of at that spot where it's like, okay, we're bringing up all these young guys, but the young guys still need to adjust to the major leagues. Mm-hmm. And so it might not be enough to suddenly turn your franchise around and suddenly we're a playoff team. We saw that exactly last year with the Orioles. They got better. They were on the verge of some playoffs. They only missed it by a couple games.
Yeah.
But ultimately, relying on rookies to turn your franchise around, it's like you still got to give them another year or so. And that's what we saw with the Orioles is what's happening this year is like, hey, we let them get some experience. And now this year, Gunnar and Adley are leading the team. And that's just kind of where I think the Reds are. Probably next year, they're going to be a real force to be reckoned with. They have some spouts of really good play this year, but I think next year they'll definitely be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you look at kind of the lineup that they run out there, right, every night. It's pretty similar to what the Orioles was last year, but what the Orioles are doing this year rather than what they did last year is that this year they could run the whole season with that group of guys that was winning a lot. Again, like the Reds had a similar start to the Orioles. They weren't great. They weren't great for sure. And I would almost call it a carbon copy of the Reds.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely agree. Um, I find what's going on with the snakes interesting as well. We talked about it last week, the downfall of the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird too, because for so long it was talking about Dodgers, Diamondbacks, that we all kind of forgot that San Francisco existed, and suddenly the Giants are playing playoff caliber baseball, and could make a run at it.
It's just really fun because you look at all these different teams that are beating expectations for this year. And like the one thing that's consistent with all these teams is that they call up their young guys, man,
Mm-hmm.
and they make an impact, right away or within the first couple months getting called up. Like with the D-backs, Corbin Carroll, who when he was hot was basically carrying the D-backs all the way. Now he's cooled down. Look what's happening, right? Like a lot of those guys feed off the energy that the young guys bring to the clubhouse. That's just kind of it,
I'm curious what this year of baseball is going to do long term with how teams look at players and development and just constructing a team. Because we've talked about it. The Mets, the Padres,
The
who are still in
Yankees,
a playoff hunt, but the Yankees, these teams that spent so much on their team that are underperforming. Yet, like you just mentioned, the teams that are performing well are the teams that really are the teams that built from the ground up, are bringing up young players. And the Mike Elias model, which, of course, came from Houston and whatnot, which was draft well, develop well, and then bring them up. You have 6 years of control over these guys, and you're not signing massive long-term contracts. You're not signing a Manny Machado contract where 13 years of control,
right?
$350 million, that sort of thing. I'm just really curious what impact the success of teams this year and possibly moving forward. I mean, theoretically, when you look at it, the Orioles are really good this year, and they should be good for years to come. The Reds, you can tell, are on the verge of being good, and they probably will be good for years to come.
Right.
There's a lot of teams following this model, and I just kind of go, what is that going to do to the big spending of baseball? Is
Yeah.
the big league massive contract in jeopardy? We'll see. It'll be interesting.
I think you got to look at teams like the Yankees, like the Padres, like the Mets. It's not working this year. And I think
No.
that's going to be slow, not completely phased out, but like you're not signing three different guys to like supermax contracts anymore. I don't think after this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, look at the Yankees now, dropped 8 in a row.
The Yankees, I saw someone today say that the playoff odds for the Washington Nationals are greater than the playoff odds for the New York Yankees. I don't know if that's
Which is
true or
crazy
not.
because the Braves are in the division too.
Yeah. Like it's wild to me how bad the Yankees have dropped. Did you see that tweet going around, by the way? That one guy who said not a single fan base has struggled as much as Yankees fans this year.
I think he
And
was
I'm
doing
like,
that for clicks, to be honest, because I think I saw
probably.
that, and I think that was a clickbait type headline.
I'm just saying, if you haven't seen your team lose 117 games, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what's going around the league. My flag is from Amazon, by the way, 100% Amazon.
We had a question there.
Yeah,
Birdland
100%
Gaming asked Jack
Amazon.
where he got his flag.
We'll be getting a new one on Friday, though. How
We
about that?
will be getting a new Orioles flag on Friday. Very excited for that. I am very excited for that flag. Too excited for that flag.
Yeah. So I don't know about you, man, but I've been pretty sleepy watching these West Coast games.
Let me tell you, I recently took my Comcast and did put my streaming app on the TV in our bedroom
Mm-hmm.
because the TV in our bedroom is all streaming, right? Like the cables in the
Yeah.
living room, streaming in the bedroom. And for this 9-game road trip, I was like, yeah, I gotta lay in bed and watch some of these because I'm not gonna be able to make it in the living room.
Yeah, I think I woke up like one night on the couch and was like watching whatever came on Masson after the game, and I was like,
Oh, that can
"What
always be a trippy.
what the hell's going on?"
What was it? Was it like a World Series of Poker or
I think it was
something? Or
poker. It was either like poker or like horse racing.
I the one night in Seattle, I think it was, um, or maybe it was no, it was the first game in San Diego. I was watching it. I was attentive, and I watched Felix Bautista come in to pitch the bottom of the
Yeah.
ninth. And then next thing I know, I open my eyes and there's 2 runners on with 1 out. And I'm like, what happened? What did I miss? And then right when I open my eyes, I see the Orioles get a double play. And I was like, we're all good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I mean, they wrapped up their West Coast road trip today. Way
Yeah.
to put an exclamation point on the road trip for sure. But we'll head back to last Monday where we started a series against the Padres. Going into it, I honestly didn't feel great about it just because the Padres are so sneaky with the way that they play. Like recently, like they'll get hot for a couple games in a row and then they'll slide a bunch. Because their lineup's good, man. Like watching this lineup through that series, I felt like no way that this team is 56-63
And they've got
after
good
game
pitching
one.
too. That's the other thing.
Yeah, I mean,
They've
we
got
saw
it all on
Darvish,
paper.
Snell, and damn, I'm forgetting the last one. But like, I think Darvish and Snell is enough to be like, damn, this could be a tough series, right?
And they're also different like than the Yankees. Like I know we just put them in the same category as the Yankees, but the Yankees have spent so much money and so much of their talent is like aged talent, right? Like
Yeah,
they still have Giancarlo Stanton they're throwing out there and stuff like that.
right.
The Padres have big talent, but a lot of it's pretty young still. So like it is different. It is scary when you look at it, but I don't know. They're so hot and cold. I don't know what the deal is with them being so hot and cold. But yeah, I didn't feel good about it going in, especially being in San Diego.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. But you know, we went into it. Hopes were a little low, but after game one, I think it kind of shifted the narrative on how at least I felt during this series. Um, I think Grayson Rodriguez being that main catalyst for kind of vibage and momentum for the rest of the road trip.
I was
Seven
gonna say
innings.
if it didn't shift your outlook on this series, it better have shifted everyone's outlook on Grayson
Oh
Rodriguez.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I mean, 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, which is the big stat there. 6 Ks. The 1 run was off a home run from Garrett Cooper, and we were up 4-0 at the time. So, you know, whole start was really good. It's a quality start. Went 7 innings. Went up against Darvish, dude. I feel like Grayson only goes up against like big names.
He really has. He's only lined up against great pitchers since his return from AAA.
Yeah, I feel like it was like McClanahan, then you got Darvish. I think he Garrett Cole too, at least
Oh yeah.
once. So it was nice to get this big win. 3 spot in the 5th inning would carry the Orioles to the 4-1 win over the San Diego Padres there in game one of the series. Felix Bautista locked down that last inning. 2 walks, kind of scary.
Yeah, he kind of did that at the beginning of the year too. He kind of was walking a bunch of guys, and then all of a sudden he'd get a double play and get out of it and be good to go. We'll see what he does. I'm still not worried about Felix Bautista.
Definitely not. Definitely not. No, that wasn't.
I will
I was
say,
a scary at the time. Gets the heart rate up, right? But like longevity wise, you're not worried about it.
well, like I said, it woke me up.
Yeah.
It woke me up. I was like, "What's going on?" Oh no. Oh okay. Um, I think what Grayson did in this game though was so big because remember you just had a couple extra inning games in Seattle, so you
Mm-hmm.
needed to give your bullpen a rest. This is the first time he went a full 7 innings, though. Am I right? Like he's had a
Yes,
couple games
correct.
into the 7th inning, but he hasn't gone the full 7.
Correct.
I
And
think,
it's always been a result of pitch count, right? Why he
yeah,
gets pulled so early, and he 95 pitches through 7 innings is really good.
yeah, and that's what he was lacking for a good chunk of his season this year was a good put away pitch. Seemed like his pitch count kept going up because he just couldn't put guys away. They kept fouling off, fouling off, fouling off.
Mm-hmm.
So really good to see that. I think like where Grayson is this year when I reflect on what his season has been so far, um, I feel like he's kind of where Kyle Bradish was last year, where he had a couple really good starts, he had a couple not so good starts, kind of went away for a bit, came back, looked better. I'll be really curious to see where he ends the season because we know Bradish last year ended the season looking really good.
Yeah.
Um, I'll be interested how Grayson looks moving forward.
Yeah, no doubt. And I hope that he can build off this start. He goes Tuesday, right? That's his next start?
Yeah, I
I
think you're
believe
right.
so. So he goes Tuesday at home against the Blue Jays, division opponent. So I mean, take the momentum from San Diego, take it on home, back in the Eastern Standard Time, and keep building on it from there as we push towards the postseason here.
Who's he going up against? Is he going up against Gosman again? Probably.
Probably, and it's either Barrios, Kikuchi, or Gosman. I remember those were the probable starters, but I couldn't remember the order.
He'll face the better of the three, which is Gosman. Just his
Probably,
luck.
dude. I mean, Barrios has had a good year. So
That's true.
last time he pitched to Cam Yards, he shut him down. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to touch that. Just like how I don't want to touch the next game.
Oh my goodness. This was bad. This had everybody questioning everything that Mike Elias has ever done in his life ever, because the one major trade the Orioles made by the trade deadline, Jack Flaherty, was on the mound, and he did not look good, to say the least. He only went 3 innings pitched, gave up 4 hits, 7 runs, 4 walks, and 3 strikeouts. I mean, this was bad from the get-go, Jack. And it looked like Flaherty never could find the strike zone. Just watching it, you were like I was getting frustrated watching him. I was like, just throw a strike. Just throw a strike. Like he could not hit the zone at all, it seemed like.
Yeah, and then when he did, it was center cut.
Right.
A hittable pitch. I mean, his line, 4 hits. Like it's
Yeah.
not a
The hits aren't the
ton.
problem. The hits aren't the problem there. That's clearly
Um,
you're letting too many base runners on. I mean, 4 walks in 3 innings.
yeah, and then Gary Sanchez hits a grand slam. That's your outing, right? You
Oh
know.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, Not a
Now
bad
we
pitcher on the other side either. Like Michael Wacha's had a great year. He gave the Padres what they needed. He's got a 2.6 on the year, which is kind of nuts. And then that Padres bullpen,
yeah.
held it down. And honestly, I hate to admit this, but I did stay up for this entire game.
Did you really?
I
I
did.
I after the grand slam was like, well, that's my cue. I'm going to
Yeah.
bed.
Yeah. 10 spot on the O's in the second game of the series.
We did get to see James McCann pitch.
Yeah. Great.
What McCann he do?
That's good. You should put that on a t-shirt.
I'm not gonna lie. I probably stole that off someone on Twitter. We
Um,
also in this got a wonderful clip of Kevin Brown singing Blake 182.
yeah. That fire you up?
A little bit, actually, to hear him sing Blink 182 to Ben McDonald, who had never heard of Blink 182 in his life.
He didn't know Blink-182 at all. Like I don't listen to them obviously, but I know who they are.
No, so that was the whole thing. He mentioned something about Blink 182, and Ben McDonald was like, I don't know what that is. Like that sounds like a fighter jet.
Kinda.
It kind of does. I mean, once he said it, I was like, oh, that's not
Hey,
that's
might have
not
been on something there.
inaccurate. But he first tried to sing all the small things to him, and Ben McDonald was like, I don't know what you're doing right now. And then he sang I miss you, and he did the where are you? And I'm so sorry. And then Ben McDonald was like, oh, I know what it is.
I'm so glad you did it.
You're so glad I did it.
Yeah, I'm so glad you did it just now. That was good.
I didn't do it as well as Kevin Brown. I can tell you that much.
You got to get into it more. You're too nasally, I think. You got to get more in the throat.
Well, it is nasally. It's a nasally part of the song.
Yeah, but I mean, that comes
You'll have to come out
straight
to
from the
karaoke with
depths.
us at some point because I miss you at karaoke.
Oh,
So you
oh
have to see
my.
that.
Do you really?
I have been known to sing Blink 182 at karaoke. Yes.
Good for you, man. I
Yeah,
would love
man.
to see that.
You come out with us. Come out with us sometime and do some karaoke.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Game 3 of this series. Let's get back on track here. Game
Yeah.
3.
Sorry.
Orioles jump out to a 1-0 lead in the first. Kramer's pitching fine, right, at the start. And the wheels kind of fell off there in the third inning. And, after this third inning, I just knew that was it.
Yeah.
Blake Snell wasn't letting up another like lead giving up run. So it's a tough one, man. You get out to an early lead, and there was an error in that inning, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was in my volleyball league, so I
Easy.
wasn't watching the game.
Yeah,
I
it
was
was the
just getting
Cino
updates.
Perez. No, that wasn't the same. Not the inning I'm thinking of, but Cino Perez did have a really bad error that just kind of deflated the whole thing in the seventh.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 3-2 at that point, and
Fujinami also couldn't hold it together. He only went 2/3 innings with 2 hits, 2 runs, and a home run.
yeah, a lot of fastballs just kind of down the middle.
Yeah,
From
it was
Fujinami.
just one of those. The score 5-2 is not like it's not a blowout. It's not 10-3.
Yeah.
But I watched the tail end of it from the bar, and you just never felt like once the Orioles went down, once that 3 spot was put on them, you just were like, yeah, they're not winning this game.
Yeah, just the air out of the whole situation just kind of. But when you're playing Oakland the next series, it's okay to drop a series to the Padres.
Yeah, I think you and I both said last week, looking ahead, where we were like, okay, you're going to go into Oakland. You have to sweep Oakland. And I'm never someone, Jack, that like looks at a series and goes like, oh yeah, well, you got to sweep that because it's so hard to sweep a series.
Yeah.
But looking at Oakland, I was like, you got to sweep that.
34-87 going into this series. I mean,
Certified not good.
I love how the A's have called up a bunch of young guys. Like, it's really fun to watch. Like Soderstrom and Zach Geloff, and I know Langoliers has been up the whole year. But like, they're just really fun guys to watch. Get out of the minor leagues and kind of make an impact, especially Geloff. But just what's around them is just horrid. I mean, I think like the pitching more importantly.
Yeah, I mean, it's this is the Orioles from like 2019, right?
I mean,
the Orioles from 2021, right? It just they've got nothing going for them, and the biggest thing with the A's is not only do they not have anything going for them, I don't see a clear path forward with them. Because at least with Mike Elias, you sat there, you saw the losing seasons, and you saw the path forward. You're like, okay, I can see the plan developing. I don't see the path forward for the A's. I mean, they've got some, they traded away some guys to get some young talent now and stuff like that. Maybe they're going to build up their minor leagues. But I think their owner is so hyper focused on getting them out of Oakland and getting them to Las Vegas that he doesn't care how they play.
Yeah, this seems to be more of just kind of poor ownership, just not really caring about the product that they put out, but they're looking at it more as a business, which sucks for their fans, man, because that they're there, right? Like we saw that whole thing earlier in the year. Like they're there, but it's just hard to watch. Like I feel like even when the Orioles were this bad, like it wasn't that hard to watch. It was almost like, yeah, I'll tune in. Why not? See the boys play. But like, I feel like it was hard to watch these games, man. Like you just felt bad for the A's.
Well, again, I think that's why, again, like with the Orioles, it was so different because Mike Elias really came out and laid out a plan, right?
Right.
And said, this is how we're going to turn the team around. And he was pretty honest from the get-go of like, look, we're not going to be good for a couple years. Like people ask like, oh, well, you're going to try and be competitive. He's like, well, rebuilding's not going to be an easy thing to watch.
Yeah.
And it was just sort of one of those like, okay, thank you for acknowledging that. Don't sit there and feed me some BS of like, well, every year we're going to try and compete and, all this stuff. Like, no, tell me the honest answer. Just say, like, look, we're not going to be good for a while, but we have to, he laid out a plan. He said, we've got to rebuild our international market. We've got to improve our development facilities. He went out and built a multi-million dollar complex in the Dominican Republic. He to make money for that, he got rid of the Keys as being an affiliate of the Orioles. He you could see him drafting and what his go-to plan was for drafting, and you could see development happening. So even though the Orioles were hard to watch in the sense that they didn't win a lot of games, I sometimes went into it kind of going like, hey, lose a couple more games, Orioles, let's get a
Yeah.
higher draft pick. I mean, like, because think about it, if the Orioles hadn't done that in 2021, we wouldn't have Jackson Holiday in the organization right now, right?
Yeah.
I can't give Mike Elias credit for Adley Rutschman because that was a result of 2018,
Right.
but I can give him credit for, Heston Kjerstad. I can give him credit for Jackson Holiday. I can give him credit for Colton Cowser. So, like,
Gunnar Henderson.
yeah, Gunnar Henderson. Although Gunnar Henderson, wasn't he 2019? Wasn't he the same year as Adley?
Was it? I
I think he was the same year as Adley. I think he and Adley were first and second round.
Well, still knowing to draft him like in a comp
Well, yeah,
round.
knowing to draft him. Yeah, I mean, because that's the thing. I saw someone post this today. Think about the Yankees drafting Anthony Volpe over Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah,
as a shortstop option.
And then as much as we talk about like trading prospects, like especially in the last 2 years, I mean, he's done a good job of holding on to guys that he thinks can make a difference and developing them. So I would assume that one of the reasons why he kept all of our guys this year is because he sees something in them, or the deal wasn't right.
Right.
And
He's
he
not just going to
thinks,
give guys away to get one player. He's going to give guys away for the right amount of trade value.
And I mean, the Orioles would be a lot better with some specific trade pieces that were on the market this year, no doubt about it. But I guess the price wasn't right, and he trusted enough in the guys that we have now. I mean, 30 games over 500, nothing to balk at.
Yeah. First in the American League.
Yeah, dude. Just thinking about like what the Orioles could be if we would have got another starting pitcher not named Jack Flaherty.
But to go back to what we were talking about with the A's, is the A's, are they still, the GM still Billy Beane?
No.
I think it's still Billy Beane.
Is it?
I think
no, I thought he was gone.
Well, let's look at it. We have Google.
Yeah, I guess it is Billy Beane. That's crazy.
Oh no, hold on. David Forst.
Yeah.
I
mean they have three top prospects in the top 100 according to Pipeline, and two of them are on the club right now. Soderstrom, Geloff, and then Jacob Wilson, who is in high A, 21-year-old.
So I just feel really bad for them because like when the news broke that they were trying to move to Las Vegas, so many former players came out and said like, look, when I played playoff baseball and we were in Oakland, it was the loudest atmosphere I've ever played in. Like, they've got the fan base. It's such a shame. And you heard it on all the broadcasts for all three of these games. Every time the game went a little bit south for Oakland, immediately chants of sell the team broke out.
Yeah, all like what, 3,000 people that were there? How many? 8,942 was the attendance on.
Yeah, it was very empty in the Coliseum. I just feel bad because I mean we talked about it back when the reverse boycott happened and everything like that.
Yeah.
I just put myself in the shoes of like, man, what would happen if the Orioles had this happen? Like we talked about horrible ownership last week on the pod.
Yeah.
And I just like go, man, what if this was happening to the Orioles? And thank God it's not. There's other horrible crap happening with the ownership, but we talked about that last week.
Yeah.
We're not about to see them leave for Las Vegas.
Yeah, and I mean, as bad as we felt about the A's this weekend, great momentum booster for the O's. Gunnar Henderson, I felt like this was kind of his series.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, 3 for 5 in the first game with 3 RBIs, hit a home run. en route to a 9-4 win. Offense just kind of came to life after a tough series in San Diego.
Especially after being shut down by Blake Snell. Yeah, you
Yeah,
have to break out against the A's. You have to.
yeah,
Who are using an
and
opener.
yeah, right. And then on the mound for the O's, Gibson looked not great. 6 strikeouts, no walks is good to see. Just a lot of loud contact, 4 earned, 9 hits, 5 innings, 95 pitches.
Yeah,
It's enough to beat
it
the
was one of
A's.
those like against the A's, you're gonna get away with that.
Yeah.
But if you were playing most other teams in the league, you're not gonna get away with that stat line.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. 9-4 win. Bullpen looked really good. Yanier Cano in a low stress situation was kind of like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I'm seeing Cano pitch a little bit less now. Where he was almost every game, it was Cano, Bautista, Cano, Bautista, Cano,
Right.
Bautista. And I think, we as we kind of talked about, and Ben McDonald was really good about pointing this out on the broadcast and stuff like that, that it just seemed like he was exhausted. He was being overused a bit. He hasn't played a full MLB season before. So him getting rest, I think it's going to be nothing but good.
Yeah, no doubt. And then Saturday, man, it was like a complete different game.
Oh yeah.
I think the wildfire smoke up there was getting into the Orioles there. It was in their eyes at the plate.
Something
Start of the
like
game.
that. Cole Irvin pitched really well though.
Cole Irvin did pitch really well. He his last 2 starts have been pretty good, man.
It's making me like this 6-man rotation that the Orioles are doing right now to try and get their guys more rest because Cole Irvin has stepped up. He's probably been told like, hey, once we get towards the end of the season, once we get to the playoffs, you're probably not going to be a starter. But I like what he's doing. He's really stepped up since coming back from AAA. He's really stepped up since moving into this 6th starter role. I mean, 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, only 3 Ks. But I mean, I'll take that stat line from Cole Irvin any day.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the only thing is that it just wasn't a ton of length, which made you go to your bullpen. A little bit heavier than what you would have liked against the A's.
I think he didn't pitch that many pitches though. I think he left the game with 77 pitches. He could still go another inning. I think Hyde is still just slowly stretching him out because he had been reduced back to a bullpen piece. He's now slowly stretching him out as a starter because he hasn't gone past 5 innings in like any of his starts since they've gone to the 6-minute rotation.
Yeah, which it gives you better length than an opener. That's for sure. So it's not a horrible way to go, especially against like the A's. Like, might as well throw Cole Irvin out there, and he did what he had to do. 5 innings, 1 run, lowered the walks for sure. Only 1 walk, 3 Ks, and then a home run to Aledmus Diaz. Aledmus Diaz, who would then homer again off Fujinami, who got a blown save for that, believe it or not.
Yeah, which seems like it was a little too early in the game for that, but I guess that's how the stat line works.
Yeah.
Are you, by the way, I put this in our notes. Are you at all worried about this Fujinami experiment?
Dude, so me and one of my buddies were talking about this Fujinami pitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
The splitter that Diaz hit out. Yes, it was a middle splitter. Diaz was really, really on his front foot on that swing and just kind of yanked it out to left field. Would I call it lucky? No, because it's really, really hard to hit a 89 mile an hour splitter. But he did kind of run into it a little bit, way off on his front foot, and just like I said, yanked it out. No, I'm not worried. Fujinami throws 101 at your neck with a splitter, and as long as he's throwing it in the strike zone, that's fine with me.
I think my problem though is that it doesn't seem like he's throwing it in the strike zone a lot, and when he is, it's middle.
Yeah,
and
but then
so,
think about what he did. He closed that Mariners game out, right? Like, that's a ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, like, his ceiling is really good. I just feel like we see the basement a lot more often than we see the ceiling.
Is the basement 1 inning, 1 hit, 1 run?
No, not for this. I mean, this was not his basement. This was like his living room. I guess, to use the analogy.
Yeah, I guess his basement's 4 walks, 3 walks, 2 walks.
Yeah, the what he did. Oh God, what game did he really blow it?
It's against the
Was that
Mariners.
like there was one against? Was it the Astros? He did really awful.
Might have been that. I mean, yeah,
Might have been. I
he's done
forget.
really awful more than once. Is the bottom line.
Yeah, it's enough where I don't trust him when he comes in. And it's a shame because you look at him and the eye test says this guy could be really good.
Right.
And it just seems like he I don't know. I don't trust him. I think they talked about it a little bit today because he pitched today as well, where Brandon Hyde's trying to get him more low leverage situations to try and calm him down a bit because he's admitted to being pretty nervous.
Yeah.
And when you go from the team that is last in the league to the team that's leading the American League, there's not a whole lot of low leverage situations to be able to go in and kind of get your feet underneath you.
I think I trust him a lot more in the regular season than I would a playoff game.
Yeah, I don't know if I see him pitch in the playoffs.
No, he will. He has to.
I mean, he had. Well, does he? We'll get to that in a bit. We're going to talk about this
Okay.
guy.
And then
We'll talk about that.
on to today, 12-1 win. Gunnar Henderson pretty much hit for the cycle. 4 for 5 with 2 doubles, a triple, and a homer. Kind of the talk of the game. I mean, the offense here is the talk of the game, really. 17 hits.
Oh, yeah.
Bunch of home runs, including an inside the park home run from Jorge Mateo.
So we also forgot to mention the Orioles won last night 7-2.
Yes. Felix Bautista.
they scored 5 runs in the 10th inning to win that game 7-2. But yeah, no, I mean the talk of this game is the offense. Like you mentioned, Gunnar Henderson came up to bat with a double, a triple, and a home run. Only needed the single for the cycle. And what did he do? He hit another double. So question for you, Jack. Would you have stopped at first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I would have stopped at first. I mean, you gotta get that history, but I think it speaks to who Gunnar Henderson is.
Yeah.
And that he's like, I don't care about the stat line. I just want to win.
Right.
And so, while on one hand, I really like, oh man, why did you stop at first? I would have loved to see you get the cycle.
And
I love to see that competitive edge from Gunnar Henderson of saying like, I don't care. I just want to score. I want to get extra bases. And he would go on to score from that. He would go on to get driven in. I think it shows the competitive nature of that. Was it necessary to do? Probably not. But I would rather that he come up in a high leverage game where he has a chance to get the cycle and just needs a single and decides, you know what? No, I'm going to go for an extra base or two. That would help us win a game in a high leverage game. So I don't know. It would have been cool, but at the same time, he's a competitor and he wants to do the best that he can.
You know who else was a competitor today?
Kyle Bradish.
Kyle freaking Bradish, dude. 6 innings, 8 Ks, 2 hits, 1 walk. Lowers his ERA to 3.03, which is, Jimmy, do you know what this means? Top in the AL, tied with Garrett Cole.
Now that's a stat line.
Now, does this mean that the Cy Young opportunity is back on for Kyle Bradish?
I would say probably not. And this isn't a knock on Kyle Bradish. This is understanding the people that vote for the Cy Young.
That's true.
To share that stat line with Garrett Cole is awesome because we all know Garrett Cole is a great pitcher. The Yankees aren't a great team, but Garrett Cole is a great pitcher. And if the Cy Young was decided by ERA alone, I would be like, absolutely. But give me that Kyle Bradish betting line for Cy Young.
So to put it in perspective, I'm gonna read you player B and player A.
All right, give it to me.
And you tell me who you think's having the better season.
All right.
8-6 with a 3.03 ERA across 23 starts, 127 and 2/3 innings, 122 strikeouts, and a 1.10 whip, excuse me. On the flip, you got 10-4 with a 3.03 ERA, 170 strikeouts with a 1.073 whip across 160 innings.
I'd say player B.
Player
right?
B, yeah. Yeah. So, Garrett Cole having a better season by the paper numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But you think about like impact, right? Like that's kind of a big stat that should be taken into consideration. Doesn't always happen with the writers of baseball, but
that's my problem is Kyle Bradish isn't going to win it because he doesn't wear pinstripes. If
I
they
don't
come
even know
down
if
to
it's that.
a Yankee or an Oriole to win the Cy Young, which I mean, there's other good pitchers that are going to be considered for the Cy Young, but if it comes down to a Yankee or an Oriole, they're going to pick the Yankee every single time.
I don't know. There's some in me, man, that's like if Kyle Bradish had more wins and more innings, that he would have a legit chance at it.
Yeah. I think he got off to a little bit of a rough start. I mean, I went to that game. It was his second game of the season, and he gave up 7 runs in 3 innings or whatever. Like, I think writers will get caught up on that. And don't get me wrong, Kyle Bradish is having a great year. He is turning into a possible ace. I will be really interested because, I mean, last year was his rookie season. This year's kind of his sophomore year, could be sophomore slump time, and he's not slumping. I'm going to be really interested in what Kyle Bradish's future is on this team because everyone talked about Grayson Rodriguez for so many years. And I think Grayson has a great future on this team, but I'm really interested in what Kyle Bradish will go. And he was my pick, Jack, at the beginning of the year. He was the person I picked and said, I think that's going to be the Cy Young of the team right there.
Kyle Bradish on FanDuel listed at
Okay.
plus 5,000 to win the American League Cy Young.
Plus 5,000. That, it's in the realm of possibility, I
Garrett
guess.
Cole is the favorite at minus 150.
Yeah, I'd say Garrett Cole is probably going to get it.
Felix Bautista plus 30,000 value pick.
I would love to see it. I think that one grand slam he gave up against the Astros, though, I think that shut the door on all Felix Bautista Cy Young talk.
If you put 50 cents on Felix Bautista to win the American League Cy Young, you'd win $150.
All right. Well, maybe that's
a
worth
value pick.
A value pick. You're right. You're right. I will say this about Gunnar Henderson too. Gunnar Henderson this series showed why he should be the favorite to win AL Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, he kicked his batting average up, and just batting average alone, he kicked it up like 30 points.
Yeah.
Like this week. Like that's Padres series and A series combined. OPS over 815 now.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I think it'll be a real shame if he doesn't get Rookie of the Year. Because I mean, who's he up against? It's Yoshida, right?
Yeah, now that Josh Young's broke his hand.
Yeah, because Josh Young is not going to be in it anymore because of injury, which is a shame. You don't want to beat someone because of injury.
Yeah.
But it's either him or Yoshida, and I think theoretically, one of the things I think goes into a lot of writers' decisions about when they pick guys for these awards is how the team does, because I think a lot of them, the thought process is how big of an impact did this have on a team succeeding. And the Red Sox could still make the playoffs. But I mean, with where the Orioles are, you cannot say that the Orioles would be here without Gunnar Henderson. So if he were to lose out on Rookie of the Year, I think that would be a real nonsense move by the writers.
Gunnar Henderson minus 300 to win American League Rookie of the Year.
Way different than when I pushed my bet. Plus 350.
So the Orioles would go on to win today's game, by the way. 12-1.
12-1. Great to have a blowout win to sweep the series, Jack. And this did a couple things. So let's go through this. So the Orioles are now 77-47, which means that they officially got over their win totals. So remember, the over under for the Orioles this year was 76.5 wins. So the Orioles in August have gone over their projected wins. They are now, for the first time this season, 30 games over 500. Remember when the Tampa Bay Rays were 30 games over 500 back in June? Not really the case anymore, just saying. And they maintain their 3-game lead over Tampa Bay that they went into last week with. 6-3 on the road trip. And I will never, Jack, I will never, ever, ever complain about a 9-game West Coast trip where you go 6-3.
Yeah, no doubt. And another thing that this also brings about, for the first time in a long time, the Orioles have a 99% chance of making the playoffs.
Yep. Other bet I placed at the beginning of the year, plus 380, Orioles to make the playoffs. Looking real good.
4.5% chance to win the World Series.
Yeah. Get those World Series bets in. I had a $2 free bet today from, I think it was MGM. I used it on Orioles to win the World Series. If that wins, it'll pay out, I don't know, something like $120 or something.
Yeah. So the Orioles, according to Fangraphs, their projected record to finish off the season would still be at 30 games above 500. They're projected to finish 96-66.
I think that's a big part of it is the Orioles have one of the easier schedules moving forward. They don't have a lot of series left against teams above 500.
They have the second easiest schedule left in the American League East. I don't know how that's. I don't know how the number of 0.498 is determined for strength of schedule, but that is the the second easiest odds in the American League East.
The biggest thing that sucks is there's a big part of me that really wants this to be like 2014 where the Orioles clinched the division, I think, like right around the beginning, if not like the middle of September. And because we have the Rays right behind us, if the Orioles were to continue this success, which I hope they do, obviously, we're still not going to get to celebrate a division victory until like the last week of the season.
Yeah, no, because I mean we'll celebrate a playoff berth, which is something that we haven't done since 2016. So I mean that'll be fun. And then honestly, like I kind of like celebrating the division win closer towards the end of the season. I feel like one, it gives the fans a lot of momentum going into the playoffs, and two, the team too. Like you're able to have like the clubhouse beer celebration, right? And then go into the final week of the season still kind of amped, and then to carry that momentum because playoffs main thing is who's hot at the time. It's not how you did in the regular season. So I would rather have it closer to the end, to be honest.
That's fair. Now with that, Jack, to maintain this and to continue that momentum moving forward, we are getting really close to September 1st, which is when the rosters expand. Each team gets 2 additional roster spots. So we go from a 26-man to a 28-man. The Orioles have some interesting decisions to make moving forward. So we're going to look at both pitching and fielding because theoretically, you're going to bring up one pitcher and you're going to bring up one fielder, right? So looking at pitching, we have a couple options moving forward. John Means is continuing his rehab I believe he's in Bowie right now.
Yes.
And he just pitched another rehab start. Again, he's coming back from Tommy John, going back to last year. Today, he went 4 innings pitched, went 2 hits, 1 run, 0 walks, 4 strikeouts, and had 57 pitches. He is still expected to rejoin the team in early September, so he could be the September call-up. He could just be the additional roster spot. I am curious here, Jack, because my thing with John Means has been he's coming in late enough in the season that I think he's likely going to be out of the bullpen. Although the Orioles are stretching him out a bit. I mean, 57 pitches today through 4 innings. They're stretching him out a little bit more than like a 2 inning bullpen spot start or something like that.
I think that's the most
So I'm going to
promising
be really
thing.
curious what they do with him for the end of the season.
Yeah, I think that's the most promising thing is that he threw 57 pitches today. Like coming back from TJ, like usually you only go an inning or two, but the fact that he went 57 pitches and did well in it too. I know it's, double A guys, but it's pretty promising looking forward. Like, I mean, he's still got a week and a half until September.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll be ready then. I think they're gonna give somebody else a shot and make sure that he's fully healthy before they bring him up. But
He
it's
also got
good.
an additional month because remember he had that setback from I want to say like an oblique injury or something like that. It was something unrelated to the TJ
Yeah.
that set him back. I'm going to be curious what they do with him if they're stretching him out to like be a 4 inning guy. If they're going to look to have him piggyback off of other players that start, or they have him be like a starter or a opener sort of role. Because I mean, like when we've talked about these young players already being at their inning limits and things like that. What is the role of someone like Means or someone else that's on this list, Tyler Wells, who was a starter, kind of fell off. They sent him to Double A. They have him working in Double A, mostly in the pitching lab, to possibly set him up as being a bullpen arm. But Tyler Wells has proved that he can be a multi-inning guy out of the bullpen as well. So do you start, in September especially, and I could see this even in the playoffs, looking at guys being openers for 3 or 4 innings and then going to like a John Means or a Tyler Wells for 3 or 4 innings. Because, I mean, think about Grayson Rodriguez. Yeah, he looked great. Yeah, he got through 7 innings against the Padres. But he has had a little bit of trouble getting through the 5th inning. It seems like the 5th inning, weird things start to happen. So if you can get 5 innings out of Grayson Rodriguez and then 3 innings out of Tyler Wells or 3 innings out of John Means, that's a pretty good lineup or a pretty good pitching setup you have there.
Yeah, and we've seen that model kind of work, right? The Giants and Madison Bumgarner,
Mm-hmm.
I think, is the most recent example.
That was exactly where my thought was going.
Yeah, and I know like the Red Sox did it with Chris Sale as well when they won in 2019. So I mean, it's been done before. The issue that I think that brings, like thinking about the playoffs, is that the rosters go back down. You go back down to a 26.
Mm-hmm.
So that would kind of cause some traffic there. I don't think Cole Irvin will be on the postseason roster. I think it'll
Okay.
be either one of the two, John Means or Tyler Wells. Honestly, I would like to see what John Means has got, man. Like,
Oh, give me an amped up John Means any day.
yeah, like I'd rather have John Means and Tyler Wells right now. Just see what he's got. Let him prove it in the regular season and then make the postseason call, when the time comes. But for right now, if he's healthy, September 1, I'd give it to John Means over Tyler Wells for sure, and
I would
DL Hall for
trust a
that matter.
John Means coming off Tommy John, working through Double A and rehabbing, over Tyler Wells, who fell off mid-season, is now having to do work in the pitching lab to figure out how to pitch again. Any day, I have
So
more confidence in John Means any day.
I will say, the last time we saw John Means was early last year.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't do great. Yeah, had to get Tommy John, but like the dominant John Means we know was using, maybe could have been using sticky stuff. So we'll see. Just wanted to put that out there, not trying to insinuate
Oh wow,
anything.
Jack is starting conspiracy theories out here.
Just had to put it out there, but it's kind of a new, like the last year with all the rule changes and everything too, man. He hasn't really pitched in that
Yeah,
consistently.
that's
So
true.
my stance on the situation still doesn't change. I do want to see what he's got. So I'm excited, man.
And then I'm going to throw someone out to you who has been involved in the new rules, who has come up through the minor leagues learning all these new rules. So it's not really changed to them. And a guy who doesn't have as much experience as both Means or Wells. But DL Hall is back in AAA pitching and pitching well. I might add. He's mostly going like 2 innings, is what he's going about, which means, if the Orioles are planning to use him this year, it's 1,000% going to be a bullpen role. And we saw at the end of last year what DL Hall can do in the bullpen. He can be really, really good coming out of the bullpen, throwing hard. Could he be that September call up, Jack?
I mean, like you could start it right with two pitchers.
You could
Um,
theoretically, you could do 2 pitchers. Um, I think also the Orioles are going to have to look at this bullpen and decide who do they want moving forward. I mean, we saw that with Brian Baker going down. I was
yeah.
surprised Baker went down. Now, I'm not saying like Baker was the best arm in the bullpen. He certainly wasn't, but he had been such a stable part of that bullpen since going back to last year at least that I was like, oh, there's no way they're gonna ever send Baker down no matter how badly he does. And yet they did. So I think there's gonna be some tough decisions moving forward when you have 3 arms that can pitch very well as possibilities to come up into that bullpen.
And it's looking like Brian Baker getting sent down was the right call.
Yeah,
Jacob
absolutely.
Webb, man. How about you?
Dude, Jacob Webb, we haven't talked about him very much, but what a waiver pickup. What a Mike Elias masterclass Jacob Webb has been since he's come on board.
Yeah, man. Got the heart rate up, loading the bases and then striking out the side. But,
Yeah, maybe he just needs a little adrenaline jump sometimes.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, but now he's
But
been good, man. Has he let up a
yeah,
run yet?
I don't think so. I don't think he has. A lot of strikeouts too. That
Mm-hmm.
his changeup is nasty. He's got a
Yeah.
really good changeup. And the thing is too, who's not to say that Jacob Webb in 2 weeks doesn't fall off and the Orioles go, well, all right, time to bring up Dio Hall now or something like that. Um, we also haven't talked about CNL Perez. CNL Perez looks like 2022 CNL Perez all of a sudden. His last month of outings, he's looked great. Um, you know, what seemed like an easy decision of, well, okay, maybe we DFA CNL Perez. I don't think that's as easy a decision anymore.
You know who it's going to be? You know who's going to get bumped?
Vespi,
Yeah.
because we like him.
Well, that. But, I mean,
He's
think
got
about it. Like,
options.
who does he?
I think so. That's got to be the only reason why they keep bumping him down and up, down and up, down and up. He's probably got the most options of anyone on the team.
Yeah, I mean, he let up a home run today. So,
Oh yeah,
that's
in
that's
that
probably
12
it.
in that 12-1 close game.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's probably it. See you, bud. Whatever.
That's a shame. I love Vespi, but it's going to be interesting what they do on the pitching side. But on top of it, Jack, we have some decisions to make on the fielding side, and one thing that's kind of putting a little twist in this is so Aaron Hicks this week went back onto the IL.
2-hit
Um,
game gets hurt.
yeah, 1 game gets hurt. Orioles don't bring back up Cowser. They had taken Cowser off the lineup
Well, they
for
couldn't.
right. I was gonna say
Yeah,
how many days did they have to wait to bring up Cowser again? It was probably what 15 days or something.
15 days from the time. Yeah.
Yeah, so they brought up McKenna because we can't escape Ryan McKenna apparently. So now you're sitting there with a full roster, theoretically one fielding position available for the September call-ups. Not only do you have Colton Cowser, who has already been called up, but you also have Heston Kjerstad, right? Another outfielder who could be called up. Do you strengthen your outfielder by saying, hey, McKenna, drop down? We're bringing up both Cowser and Kjerstad. Do you leave it as is because you expect Aaron Hicks back, and then you bring up either Cowser or Kjerstad? And by the way, we keep saying it, Kjerstad has to be on the 40-man by the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. And it is full right now. That thing is full. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to do something, man. We have a lot of guys that are up for Rule 5 right now.
And that's what's going to be difficult because Kjerstad is someone, I mean, we've talked about it. He's going to be Rule 5 round one, pick one
Yep.
if you lose him, and you don't want to lose him.
Other guys that are eligible for the Rule 5 next year, Hudson Haskin is one. Ryan Watson is also one. And we have a slew of guys that are already in the Rule 5 eligible kind of area right now. So you would need a DFA, somebody to get even Means back on too.
Yeah. There's going to be some difficult decisions coming forward with that 40-man, man. And then there's one more twist I'm going to throw at you. And I'm only throwing it at you because everybody's talking about it. I don't think it's going to happen, but everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, lay it on me.
Is there a possibility that Jackson Holiday gets called up for this playoff push?
Shouldn't be.
Again, I'm only throwing it at you because everybody else is talking about it.
John Heyman's a quack, dude.
He's not the only one talking about it, though. I think a lot of people are quoting him, but he's not the only one talking about it.
I don't know.
I don't think that Jackson Holiday should be called up. I don't think he will be called up. I think Mike Elias did what Mike Elias normally does, is when he was asked, like, hey, will you call up Jackson Holiday? He's like, well, we're not ruling it out. That means no, but we can't say no. You know what I mean? I think Jackson Holiday is doing great things at AA right now. I think earlier in the year he did great things at high A, and earlier in the year he did great things at low A. He's the number one prospect in all of baseball for a reason. And as fun as I think it would be to see him come up for this playoff push, I would rather trust in Mike Elias, in the development he's done with all of his prospects, and say, hey, if he continues to succeed, we'll move him up to AAA. But when he gets to AAA, I want to see a certain amount of bats from him at AAA to make sure that he's ready for the major leagues. Because, I mean, has the AA to major league jump happened before?
It's happened a lot this season.
Happened a lot this season. I mean, Manny Machado is the most famous one I can think of for the Orioles in their history.
Well, the Angels, a guy that the Angels drafted this year.
Can we talk about that? Can we talk? Okay, let's first of all talk about this. Okay, we're gonna come back to the Orioles in 1 second. What the heck are the Angels doing taking their 11th overall draft pick, which the draft was a month and a half ago, right, Jack? It was just about a month and a half ago, and saying, all right, you're now a major leaguer. You're not giving him any time to develop. I get the idea of like, oh, after the trade deadline, we've been really bad. So let's put a little pep in our step and take our big draft pick and put him out onto the major league roster. But aren't you just hurting your organization by, not giving him any time to develop? Are you helping the player really if you're just going to throw him onto the major league roster?
Dude, they just thought he was ready, and they did that with Zach Neto too. Definitely not nearly as quick, but I mean, they've been known to do that. I mean, I guess they're, still kind of in it, right?
I mean, technically, I don't know. It smelled like desperation to me.
Does it?
Oh, it reeked of desperation to me.
You think desperation?
Oh, yeah. How many games have they lost since the trade deadline? Answer, a lot.
But
a lot.
I mean, what's a guy that you just drafted gonna bring you down the stretch?
Right. That's why I'm saying it's desperate, because they're grasping at straws now, being like, we have to change something to turn this ship around and get back to playoff contention. Which, by the way, when they decided to go for it, they only had a 4% chance of making the playoffs.
Well, God, he was born in 2002.
Right, reeked of desperation to me. That being said, going back to Jackson Holiday, the Orioles aren't desperate. The Orioles are not in a desperate position where it's like, well, crap, if we want to make this push, we got to bring up our number one prospect. We don't have to. The ultimate question comes down to, Jack, like you said, before when we've talked about other guys coming up. Does he make your team better? I mean, probably. I mean, if you DFA Jorge Mateo and bring up Jackson Holiday, like, yeah, I'd say automatically right there the team's probably better. Um, no slight to Jorge Mateo, who had an inside the park home run today. But, you know, I don't think there's a guarantee with Jackson Holiday that all the success he's had right now is going to automatically transfer over to the major league level.
Yeah.
I think that he will be a great major leaguer, but let's trust the development process and not rush it, because the other thing is the more you let him develop, the more likely he will come in being able to step into a major league role. And also, the longer you have him to continue the dynasty of this team. I'm not in a rush to get Jackson Holiday up here. I'm not saying service time is the only factor, but I'm not in a rush to get him up here because I don't want to lose him right away. Not that saying 6 years is right away, but still.
Yeah.
And we don't have
Yeah.
the need right now. We don't have the Gunner's doing great at shortstop. You have to throw Mateo in there occasionally to give Gunner a rest or whatever, but like I like Gunner being our starting shortstop, and then you have Westberg, uh, Frazier, and Arias kind of playing around with whoever's going to be second and third.
Yeah.
That's working out really well for us right now. So I don't see the need to bring him up. That being said, the outfield's looking really crowded right now too, and the only thing that's a need is to need to get rid of Ryan McKenna.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to give Kerstad a shot over McKenna, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I would love to see Kerstad come up. I think the problem with bringing Kerstad up is they don't know who they want to DFA yet to put him on the 40 man.
McKenna.
Well, yes. Thank you,
Nah,
Jack.
yeah, man. This whole Jackson Holiday thing's kind of crazy because he's torching everything down in the minors.
Which, remember, you said when he went up to Double A, you were like, "This is the test for him. This is where it starts to get real for him,
He's
and we'll
passed
see
with
if he's
flying
actually as good
colors.
as we think he is." And fun fact, he is. He is as good as we think he is.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see some more in triple first, right?
Oh yeah, no, that's absolutely, that's exactly what I'm saying. Let me see if this continues to transfer into triple. And if this continues to transfer into triple, all right, let's transfer it into the major leagues. Let's not be too hasty here with Jackson Holiday.
No doubt. What do we got this
Um,
week, Jim?
we got a great week. So first of all, the Orioles are coming home.
Thank
Let's
God.
let's just get excited to not have West Coast baseball anymore. Falling asleep by the time the game even starts, right? So the Orioles have an off day tomorrow. Nice time to reset from their West Coast trip. And then we've got a 3-game set against Toronto, which I believe, Jack, is our final series against Toronto.
You were correct.
The Orioles have already won the season series against Toronto. I'm expecting something big from this team. I know that it'll be tough coming back from the West Coast to adjust and whatever. So maybe that first game they drop or something. But they've pretty much dominated Toronto all season long. They're leading the season series something like 8-2 or something like that. So I could see the Orioles taking 2 out of 3 from this one. Continue on the momentum that they have coming off of Oakland. And then we go right into a 3-game series against Colorado, which is a team that isn't as bad as Oakland, but Colorado's not exactly turning any heads around here. So that's a series that you should at least take 2 out of 3 from as well.
For sure.
And that's a series where we've got some great giveaways, Jack. Friday night is that Orioles Maryland flag that we hinted at before. So
Yeah.
Jack has that wonderful Orioles American flag behind him that he got a nice compliment on early on in the show. You can go out and you can get your own Orioles Maryland flag. Keep in mind, though, they only have 15,000 of them. And with how
It'll
busy
probably be a sellout.
it could be a sellout for a Friday night game. The Orioles are still playing well. So if you want your Maryland flag, your Orioles Maryland flag, get to the yard early. I'm going to be there super early, Jack, because that's the day I have my Mike Elias meet and greet.
That'll be fun.
So I'm almost guaranteed to get a flag because I'm going to be there like 2 hours early. But that's just also when the meet and greet is. They give you the giveaway when you walk in for the meet and greet.
Of course. And Saturday got the biggest bobblehead ever. That's what they've been pushing it as. So I guess
a mountain-sized bobblehead.
Yeah.
Felix Bautista bobblehead. That'll be a fun one.
It'll be a good one. Unfortunately, I will not be able to get it. I'm going to New York this weekend.
Ooh, what are you doing in New York?
Doing some sights. I've never been to New York City.
Really? Not once?
No.
Not even like as a school trip or anything?
Nope.
Wow.
So I'm going for the first time. Catching a Mets game Saturday night, playing the Angels. So
two high quality baseball teams right now.
Oh yeah, and you can expect the podcast to not occur Sunday night this time next week because I have a train that comes back this time on Sunday. So
probably a Monday night pod.
Yeah.
That's fine. Monday night pod next week. Keep that in mind. Mark your calendars. I know everyone sets their schedule every week to whatever we're doing. But it should be a good week of baseball. I'm excited to have the Orioles back in town. I'm going to at least 2 of these games, maybe a third. So I've missed the Orioles, and I'm going to be excited to be back in the yard a lot. After that, the Orioles also have a series against the White Sox, so should be a good series as well. I've got a couple tickets to that series, so gonna be good stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of good stuff, Jack, we have a giveaway winner to announce.
Who won?
So as a reminder, if you've listened to the show for a while and you forgot, or if it's your first time listening to the show, we have a giant pack of mini baseball card packs that we are giving away every single week on the show just for folks listening to us. In order to enter the contest, all you have to do is when we tweet out the recording of the week's podcast is to like the tweet, retweet it, and make sure you follow UPod Street on Twitter. And you will be automatically entered to win free packs of baseball cards. So this week's winner is at Ravens281, who is also known as Sloth on Twitter.
Congratulations.
I have to say that's slower if his name's Sloth. It's Sloth. Once again, thank you everybody who got us to 1,000 followers on Twitter, by the way. It's been nice to see this podcast grow what started as just kind of a creative outlet for me, because I felt bad for my girlfriend having to listen to me constantly talk about the Orioles, which I still constantly talk about the Orioles with her, but a little less because I have a creative outlet to get through. And a special just thanks to Jack, who has come in and been a major aspect of helping the podcast grow, as well as taking some of the workload off of me, because having 2 people is always a lot easier than relying just on one. So it's been really fun growing. I look forward to continuing to grow, and I look forward to the Orioles winning more. Jack, do you have anything to say for the end of the pod?
These postseason episodes are going to go crazy.
I think that you're going to see my hair rapidly get grayer during the postseason podcast.
I was going to say, even more than it already is.
Even more than I might be white as a ghost on the top of my head come the end of the postseason, because some of these games that aren't even like high leverage games are already stressing me out. I don't know about you, Jack. Are you already scoreboard watching?
Yeah, I check in on what the Rays do every day.
I'm telling you that I was checking today. I was like, where's the Rays score? Where's the Rays score? And then I was like, oh, they didn't play today. I was like refreshing my app. I was like, this thing's broken. And I was like, oh, they didn't.
Oh yeah,
they didn't play
the
today.
wildfires caused a lot of doubleheaders yesterday.
Yeah. So I'm already scoreboard watching. I'm already getting stressed out, and I can only imagine what that's going to do to me come October. But it's a good problem to have. We're going to keep having a lot of fun with it. And we'll see you all Monday night next week. And let's go O's.
Thank you, everybody.
You've been listening to UPod Street, an Orioles podcast by fans for fans. UPod Street is an official Birdland Sports affiliate. Directly support the pod by purchasing UPod Street or other Orioles merchandise using the link birdlandsports.com/UPod Street. Get 10% off your order when you use the code UPod Street. Follow us on Twitter @UPod Street and @JackBain20. UPod Street is also on Facebook and YouTube, and you can listen to the show on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify. On whatever platform you listen, please subscribe, rate the pod, and leave a review. If you leave a review, we may even read it on the show. We'll see you next week, and of course, let's go O's.